Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back, dear students. We are at the end of our unit, which is Unit 2. We have done a lot of activities and we had interesting topics to discuss and famous, interesting people that we looked at their history in Unit 2. So we're going to see what we have left in Unit 2. We are going to move on with the for meaning of function, which was the last lesson that we had. And we do have homework. So just to revise, our lesson was about the comparison between the present perfect and the present, or the past simple, sorry. Okay, so we have here the past simple. We discussed the structure of the present perfect using the helping verbs has and have plus the past participle, and when to use it, what is the meaning of it. We also discussed the past simple using the helping verb did in questions and negatives as well. So we have here, these are the two structures or the two forms that we talked about. We also passed by the time expressions. Now we said that we do have time expressions for the past simple, and we have other time expressions for the present perfect simple. And also we focused on something interesting, which is asking questions, but here specifically with how long. So when we ask a question using how long, if you remember, we said that we're going to use either for or since. And also we explained when to use both of the two words for and since. If you have a period, a time mentioned, a period, you're going to use since. If it is a counted period, you can use for. Then moving on, we have something also very interesting, which is asking questions as well. But this time we are going to use have you ever. Now, if you remember, we said that we use have you ever when we are asking about experiences. So we do have asking and telling about personal experiences. Now we are going to start with the exercises. We did some exercises in our last lesson. So we did this first part, the first 4 points in exercise A. We're going to complete now. Now, number 5. We haven't used our car blank a long time. Now here, the A shows that we have here a countable period. So when it is countable, you are going to use for. Number 6, I've been drinking tea blank years. Also, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It is countable. So we are going to use here also for. Tariq has worn glasses blank the age of 7. Here you can see that there is nothing counted, but we are mentioning a period of his age or his time. So when did he start wearing glasses? Since he was, or since the age of 7. Number 8, blank. When have you had that beautiful watch? So also I'm asking here about a period. There's nothing counted. So here I'm going to use since when. Now this is something just to put in mind that also it can come at the very beginning of the sentence, beginning a question. Now moving on, we have the second exercise, B. Also, if you recall, we did the first part here about Amancio Ortega. We completed. And we did C. Now we started with the exercise C. You can see that we have here complete the conversations, use the present perfect and the simple past, then practice with a partner. So we said that we have short conversations in the book. Now we did the first conversation, as you can see. We're going to complete now. So we have the second one. We have 2. I blank tacos in Mexico years ago. So is it something that is completing to the present time? Of course not. It's something that happened in the past. So I can say here that I ate tacos. What did they taste like? They were still talking about the past. So here we can say that they were spicy. Now note that you have to pay attention. What is the subject or what is the noun that we have here? Is it singular or plural? So I put here were because we have here the pronoun they. Now we're going to complete with the second one. We have here number 3. Now we have blank, Sheikh Sulaiman bin Abdulaziz al-Rajhi, always blank a billionaire. This is a question. Now I'm talking about someone, a figure, who from the past until his present history. So here I'm going to use has. Now, number one, remember that we used has here because we're talking about one person. And the second thing, because we are linking between the past and the present. So we have here has, Sheikh Salman bin Abdulaziz al-Rajhi. Always, I need here a verb that is in the past participle. So we have here, it's going to be been a billionaire. Moving on, we have here no, he hasn't. Blank, he ever blank money to charity. Also, I'm linking between the past and the present. So we're going to start also, has he ever, and then I want the past participle of give. We have here give, past gave, and the past participle is given. Yes, he has. A simple answer, a short answer for a yes/no question. Completing, he blank some of his wealth to charity in 2011. Now here we're talking about an action that happened in the past. So this time we are going to use the simple past here. So we're going to use the verb gave. Now here you can see that we used both forms of the same verb. Coming to number 4, I've never blank in a helicopter. So here it is easy to see that we have here the abbreviation I've never, I have never. So that's why you are going to directly use the past participle. So we have here I have never been in a helicopter. I blank in one over the Red Sea. So we're talking about a past action or previous action here. So we can say that I flew in one over the Red Sea. I'd like to do that one day. Now we have here D. Make some notes in the chart below. Work with a partner. Ask and answer about your personal experiences. So when we said that we ask questions, have you ever, for personal experiences, you can use this note and just practice with a partner. And this is a good speaking practice. So we have here the 3 parts. We have here people I have met, places I have been, events I have attended. And you can use other examples, things or actions you have done, any kind of experience. So just to give examples here, have you ever, relating to this picture, now as an example here, have you ever flew in an airplane or have you ever traveled abroad? So you can say yes, so far I have gone to 7 countries. Another question, have you ever tried scuba diving? Now we can also answer here and say, for example, I've dived once in Jeddah, it was amazing. Also, another interesting experience, have you ever eaten lobster? Eaten, past participle. So also here I can answer, no, I've never tried it before. And we have here the last example, have you ever tried or paraglided? So we have here, we can say, I haven't done it yet, but I'm planning to. Now note that I'm asking, have you ever? It's a yes/no question. So you are going to answer either yes or no and complete your answer using the present perfect. Now we're going to complete. Now we have completed our lessons. We have reached the very end, which is going to be the project of our unit. Now, since we are talking about figures here, we are going to talk or make a project about famous figures here. It is very close to the idea of the writing. Now let's just go back and see what is the point of the project. The project in each unit relates to the unit's main topic. It is an activity in which you cooperate to perform a directed task. As examples, you may make a brochure, a design of presentation, you may interview people and report back, or do research and so on. Mainly, the project requires to use all the language you have acquired. So also remember that you are going to benefit from everything that you have learned in the unit. You are going to use the vocabulary, the grammar structures, and of course, the main idea. Also here, don't forget from Unit 1 that you are going to work as a team together. Now, going back to our title of the unit, which is Influential People, we are going to choose, of course, a personality as we did in our writing lesson. Now, before we complete, we have Hadith Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن من الناس مفاتيح للخير مغاليق للشر، وإن من الناس مفاتيح للشر مغاليق للخير، فطوبى لمن جعل الله مفاتيح الخير على يديه، وويل لمن جعل الله مفاتيح الشر على يديه. Now just to remember that it is very important that you are someone positive and useful and a good person to the people who are around you, and of course to make sure that you do not do anything wrong or have a bad influence on someone else. Now moving on to the objectives of our project, we have here number 1, name famous figures and enumerate their accomplishments. Number 2, to research about their success. Number 3, to analyze different periods of his or her life. It's up to you. Number 4, to prepare and present your project figure. Number 5, to apply structure forms, vocabulary, and phrases that you have been learning throughout the unit or you have learned throughout the unit. Now, we are going to move on. Open your books, please, on page number 32. We have here on page number 32, think about a person you admire who could be a role model for you and your friends. So you are going to think about an influential person, positively influential. So you are going to think about this person who you and your friends agree on because you are going to work together as a team. Research and collect information about his or her life and achievements. Make notes along the timeline below. So we're going to use a timeline. Do you remember when we took the writing lesson, we used the kind of timeline? Now you are going to do the same idea of the timeline. It can be more interesting and you can make it more realistic. Now draw the timeline on a large poster. Use your notes to write brief summaries at each point. So we have here like this timeline here, you can see that we have here the numbers 1, 2, 3, which are going to be like stops here or like the periods of this person's life. And you're going to talk about different things or different achievements that have been accomplished. Include pictures of drawings to illustrate the person's achievements. Now this is what makes it different from the writing. You're going to make it on a poster, you're going to use different pictures, you can use different projects, for example, or projects that this person has done or has been contributing in. Now present your poster to class, allow time for questions afterwards. So you are going to present it to other classmates, and of course there is going to be a kind of discussion. Now here, there is an example for a timeline. So you can see from the pictures that I have used here that you can make it interesting and attractive. Now the basic thing is to attract the people who are going to see your project. Now starting from number 1, we're going to start with the date of birth, or when was this person born. Moving on, grew up in, when, where, it can be a place or a date. You're going to mention something like our personalities that we took in the first lesson when we talked about their youth. School, when and where. So where did this personality study? Moving on in our timeline, we can see here, first discovered, what he or she was good at, and when and where. So we have here lots of things that can be discussed, and endless examples for people who have discovered their talents and started their history. Moving on with our timeline, we have here how he or she used his or her talent or discovery, when and how. So the first part is going to be how this person discovered and then how they started using this talent. Now moving on, we have here who helped him or her. Now, teamwork, we're going back to the same idea and that we have in Unit 1, that even the most successful people, they need the help of the people around them. And then we have also how he or she became successful. So here, it depends on what the idea that you have in mind and who is the personality that you have chosen. Now think about someone who really has inspired and may inspire more, make your presentation interesting. So as I mentioned, it is necessary to make something attractive and that you do put something that has effort in it to make it a successful project. Now, we're going to just revise what we have studied in Unit 2. We're going to see what we have here. We took in the first lesson, listen and discuss and pair work, famous figures who have changed from rags to riches, or they were in a less fortunate time in their life to being something different and rich. Now, if you remember, like the personality, Li Ka-shing, or like Amancio Ortega, or even Steve Jobs. Now, they started from a very poor basis, and then they became successful. There was the vocabulary check as well. We have here the grammar. We studied used to and the difference between used to and be used to. We studied also would, and we saw the difference or the connection or the same meaning that we have between would and used to. We have also was and were going to. So remember that we had the 4 structures in the grammar lesson. Also, we have here the conversation, which was about discussion, and we have here the real talk. Now, if you remember about the 20,000 or the 30,000 riyals, and how the boy was just thinking what to do with the money. We have here the listening and pronunciation. If you remember that we listened to the history of money, and also we practiced the pronunciation of the ED, and how many types of pronunciation do we have. We said that there are 3 different sounds for the ED. Moving on, we have the vocabulary building. We studied new words, which we also passed by again in the reading, which was about Sheikh Sulaiman al-Rajhi. Moving on, we have also the speaking, which was a part of the reading. We had the writing in 2 lessons here. The writing was about writing a descriptive essay using timeline. So we have here, you can see that the timeline is a very important part in our unit. We used it in the writing. We used it also here in the project, which means that it is something useful that you can benefit from. Also, we have here the form, meaning, and function. So we compared and we studied both forms, which is the past simple and the present perfect. We also, as we revised at our very beginning of the lesson, did the 2 questions, have you ever, and we have here the other question, which was how long, using for and since. Coming to our project, which is also about a famous figure. Now, just to remind you again that all of these lessons that we took here, you are going to apply them in your project. So, at the very end of our unit, we have here the self-reflection. Now, as we did in Unit 1, you are going to just self-reflect. You are going to evaluate yourself and just to discuss with your classmates what are the basic lessons. Of course, we have here, we revised the lessons, but you're going to go in detail and you're going to see the points that we have here inside our lessons and the new vocabulary, and you're going to just revise and just look back, what do you need to practice more. So here, there is in the book, the page that we're going to just now study. We have, of course, our objectives. We have number 1, to practice speaking skills in class because you're going to discuss with your classmates. We have number 2, assess performance based on indicators, or assess, sorry. Number 3, track learning progress. So, open your books, please, on page number 33. Now we have, like Unit 2, there are going to be 4 parts. You are going to evaluate yourself. Now we have here the first part, which is things that I liked about Unit 2. So what did you find interesting and easy to study? We have things that I didn't like very much. So maybe you have a point of view. We have, after that, things that I found easy in Unit 2. So was it the grammar structure? Was it the vocabulary? Was it the real talk? What was easy, or what was the easiest actually for you to study? Then we have the last one, things that I found difficult in Unit 2. Now here, this is going to be the part that you are going to focus on. We do have a table just to check. Now you can see that we have in detail the parts that we studied here. You are going to just evaluate yourself. Now I evaluated myself here for you as an example. You can see that we have here, I can do this very well, or I can do this quite well, or I need to study or practice more. Now, as we mentioned, that you're going to evaluate yourself before the teacher. So number 1, we have here talk about fame and fortune. Can you talk about fame and fortune? So you can just evaluate yourself. We have discuss options also. Now, discussing options, the ones that we took in the conversation, are you able to use these discussion options? So we have here, yes, I can do that very well. How about using used to versus be used to? Now, do you know the difference between them and when to use them? Use would for a repeated action in the past versus used to. So do you know the difference between them, and when can you use this one or this one? Use was or were going to, future in the past. So remember in the lesson when we said that we are planning for something in the past, but it was for the future. So we have here, if you understand it, you're quite well. Use the present perfect simple tense, our last lesson, the form, meaning, and function, and also using time expressions. Now this one was very easy. Ask questions with how long. I need to practice more. Use the past simple and the present perfect tense. Now actually, to make sure that you understand the difference and the structure, the difference in structure between the two, as well as the meaning. We have the last one, ask and talk about personal experiences using have you ever. Now this one is very, very easy. Now we have here, these are the parts that I evaluated myself. You are going to do the same thing. You can have the discussion in class with your classmates, and you can agree, or you can help each other to clarify some things that may be difficult. Now the last part in the self-reflection. We have here also the table. We have here my 5 favorite words from Unit 2. So you are going to concentrate on the vocabulary we took in the first lesson and also in the vocabulary building. Now, what are your 5 favorite words that you have learned? And even you may have learned something from the reading or from the writing, which was not even mentioned in the vocabulary. If you're still not sure about something from Unit 2, read through the unit again. Listen to the audio material, so you can just scan and listen to the audio material in the book. Study the grammar and functions from the unit again, and ask your teacher for help if you need it. So at the very end of our lesson, our outline of the day is to, first of all, planning a project, brainstorming, researching. You're going to think together. You're going to research about personality, maybe change the personality. It depends on what you have chosen. And discussing, of course, different teams. You're going to connect ideas and main points, form a symbiotic team by distributing roles. So you're going to discuss these figures, and you are going to divide the work between you, and you're going to come up with a very successful project, inshallah. The last part, we had the self-reflection to think back and evaluate yourself on the topics, tasks, and language presented and practice in the unit. We have reached the very end of our unit 2. I am sure that you're going to come up with amazing projects and be ready for Unit 3, inshallah.